What's up, gym rats? I'm here in my studio at RAD Muay Thai here in Aurora, Denver area of Colorado. And I wanted to talk real quick about some Revgear gloves that I've got. I've been wanting to do a review on these gloves for a while. So here at RAD Muay Thai Martial Arts and Fitness, we primarily carry Revgear stuff in our pro shop. We do have some Jocko, we do have some Ring to Cage, Combat Corner, but most of our gear is Revgear. I've just had a really good experience with Revgear, customer service wise, and I really like their equipment. I test all equipment before I sell it. You know, I want to make sure that my students are using the best equipment they possibly can, the stuff that lasts the longest, the stuff that's worth their money. So let's talk about the gloves real quick. Today I wanted to talk about the Sentinel Gel Revgear boxing gloves. Now, primarily here at RAD Muay Thai Martial Arts Fitness, we're obviously a Muay Thai school primarily, but we do grappling and fitness, all types of different things. So from a Muay Thai perspective, Revgear has these gloves here. These are the Muay Thai gloves that they sell. And I want to explain the difference between boxing gloves and Muay Thai gloves because my students ask me this and a lot of people really don't understand the difference. So let's talk about it real quick. The biggest difference you're going to see is in the wrist. If you look at a boxing glove, the wrist support is really wide, okay? If you look at a Muay Thai glove, the wrist support is a lot thinner, at least an inch thinner. So you're probably looking at 2 to 3 inches versus 4 to 5 inches on a boxing glove versus a Muay Thai glove. Now the reason behind that is in Muay Thai we utilize the clinch a lot, so we need the glove to be malleable in that sense. We need to be able to curl our wrist when we have to. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is when you're throwing a punch, in boxing primarily you secure your wrist pretty straight when you're throwing your punch, but in Muay Thai it's something we call a cobra, where we curl our fist in when we throw Muay Thai punches. So there's a slight difference in the way that you would throw a punch in Muay Thai and the way you would throw a boxing punch. But I want to talk about these gloves specifically. Now I tell my students that these are like the Cadillac gloves because when you come into a school or you're shopping, you're trying to be economical. So it's not easy to just go spend $80 on a pair of gloves. So you're usually looking at maybe some Everlast $20, $40 pair of Everlast gloves or a cheaper version of gloves here. Revgear has these Tide Destroyer gloves that a lot of my students like. These are pretty cool. These are about $60. But if you want a quality glove, you're going to have to pay money like in anything else in life. If you want quality, you're going to have to shell out for it. So these gloves run about $80, $85. The Muay Thai gloves, they cost the same. So the question becomes, what do you want? Now I'm going to tell you the difference. If you're training Muay Thai, you can, if you want specifically Muay Thai gloves, these are what you want to go with because you can use them on the bag and you can use them for sparring. I make all my students use 16-ounce gloves for sparring just so we take care of each other. But I love these gloves for heavy bag work. Specifically because when I'm boxing on a heavy bag, a really durable heavy bag, I want a lot of good wrist support. The padding here is immense. It's evenly distributed. It's called a Sentinel Gel glove because there's gel inside the glove. I honestly have not felt a more comfortable glove. And I used to use a pair of $200 Protex 2 lace-up Everlast gloves. They were my favorite gloves for about 4 years. I still have them actually. Genuine leather and all that stuff. And so that's another thing you want to consider is that gloves do last. Okay? Sometimes you have to shell out the money, but when you do, those gloves will last as long as you take care of them. I have gloves that I've had for 5, 8 years, and they're still good. But I have gloves, when I've bought cheap gloves, or my students have bought cheap gloves, I've seen them tear apart in a year or a few months, just because you got to understand, you're paying for, you get what you pay for. The minute you put these Sentinel gloves on, you feel what you pay for. You feel the comfort, you feel the construction, the ergonomic design. You just feel that there's nothing that's going to get through here and mess up your knuckles or your wrist. I mean, it's a solid glove. I truly believe it's worth every penny. So now we'll get some heavy bag work in with these Sentinel gloves, which I think is one of the best things that you could use them for. These 16-ounce Sentinel gloves are really good for, I'd say, beginners and advanced. I'd say it's good for beginners because the cushion and support that it provides, it could potentially protect you from the injuries you could sustain if you don't know how to throw a punch properly. Now it's good for advanced as well, because when you become advanced, you start learning how to really throw your power, and it protects your knuckles at that point, and your wrist, when you really start being able to crack the bag or crack your opponents and whatnot. So I'm hitting a significantly heavy bag here. This is the Everlast Super Leather bag. It's the biggest one they make. It's about 150 pounds of stuff in it. It's really solid. It takes a lot to move it or even put a dent in it. And I don't feel hardly anything on my knuckles hitting this bag with these gloves. For quality training, you need quality equipment.